Welcome to this video quantum conversation. I'm Galey, and today we're talking about timelines and realities. The old matrix that is created out of everything from fear, greed, or lack, to the new crystalline matrix. Lisa Transcendence Brown is an ascension way shower. And here is a beautiful interview with her as she shares that our reality presents a version of what we hold inside ourselves. That's why it's very important to choose our words, our thoughts, and to purify our hearts so we can anchor in and create new earth. Here's Lisa Transcendence Brown.
When we refer to the matrix, we want to be very aware of which matrix we're talking about. You have an old earth matrix, and I'm going to break it down into just two for now. You have old earth's matrix, that is realities constructed based upon fear and oppression and suppression, and basically it is a prison for your soul, if you will. It's the human experience that we chose to come here and have that actually lends to a very disempowered state of giving our power away to something outside of ourselves. It's our disconnected state. When it's time for us to fully wake up, and we've been trying to wake up our entire existence here, but when it's time for us to fully wake up and move beyond the veils of amnesia, then what happens is we start waking up to everything out there that's wrong and everything inside of us that's not okay. And it's basically from that point forward, we are disconnected or our connected state with our higher self, our universe, or whatever we want to call it, in a very connected place, in that pure place inside of us. There is not 1 ounce of lack or need for anything at all. And when we can go to that place inside of us and let everything fall away, we start to realize that everything that we believed is only true because we believed it. And then it's about starting to go inside of ourselves and ask our higher self, our universe, whatever we want to use, and see what's true for us now. And exiting the matrix means identifying everything in our life that doesn't honor us on a soul level, that doesn't honor us for the purity and for what we truly are. And each one of us have a matrix program that is visible through what we call a holographic field, or holographic universe, holographic realities. And once we start to open our heart, our pineal gland actually starts to come online, and we get access to the other dimensions, part of our multidimensionality, where we actually get to see the constructs of reality and how everything came to be, how everything was created, and how it wasn't pure. It didn't come from a place of love and unity. It came from a place of fear and separation within ourselves. And so exiting any matrix program is basically identifying and the realization that where we were coming from before was from a place of fear. And then choosing the higher timeline, the higher reality that comes from a place of unity and love inside of ourselves, and not succumbing to the fear and letting that dictate our reality anymore. Each person's matrix, old earth matrix, will have been constructed based upon safety mechanisms, based upon beliefs of lack, based upon things that others told us to do, beliefs we acquired. Doesn't really matter, because technically those are part of the human experience, whereas we elevate beyond that and shift to our perspective on a soul level, then our realities are very different, and they end up being the opposite of what was true before. Love and fear tend to be, if you will, opposites. Eventually, when we open our heart and we purify ourselves inside, and our body goes through this entire purification process to clear all of those dense programs from our physical body, so that we can come from this place of love and respect for ourselves, and then out there starts to align and match that vibrational frequency as we transmit that out. Now, there is a crystalline matrix of New Earth, which is a different matrix program, and it's built on the energies of love, built on the energies of unity, but for our human aspect, we don't understand energy. We don't understand how New Earth works because it doesn't make any logical sense. And we don't pay attention to our feelings. We don't honor our feelings. We don't pay attention to what our higher self universe is trying to tell us. And we don't listen. And therefore, we basically stay in a matrix program of beliefs that feed our insecurities, our unworthiness, our lack of love for ourself. Trust is a huge thing because we don't trust what we can't see. And the cool part is now, with the vibration on Earth, more people collectively are starting to see and feel the energy. It's stronger because the evolution that everybody is going through is a return to an energetic existence where our energy body dictates our physical body now. We're in rapid DNA enhancement. We are in high evolutionary phase, where our body, and our human doesn't like some of these words, but they get the point across. Our DNA is mutating. It's reconfiguring itself. Our body is recoding itself to align our physical realities to the vibration of our soul, which is pure. So everything in our world that isn't pure comes basically forefront in our face for us to see it and decide if that supports us, inspires us, if it is our new earth reality or if it represents our old earth reality. And then you get into the heaven and the hell part, because new earth is basically walking in heaven on earth, whereas old earth represents hell. So if you basically start using words that really identify your experiences, and this is about experiences, not what somebody else is having. This is all about us. For each one of us, our realities are going to represent our version and our aspect of ourself, and our realities as we have allowed them or created them to be. And when we talk about the matrix programming, a lot of us went deep into total unconscious realities. And what's happening is those unconscious realities are now coming to light. Those unconscious realities are becoming visible. And for our human aspect, when it starts to see these things, it's shocked. It's called basically being shocked or shaken awake. And basically it is the abrupt realization that things are not okay. And then each one of us has to choose to align our realities to love, to align our realities and realize every decision we make, where are we coming from? Are we coming from separation and duality? Are we coming from a lack of love and respect for ourselves? Are we coming from the inability to communicate? Are we coming from all of these old places still, which are our habit programs? They are also what we went to that was safe. And instead, we have to do what's not safe. We have to open up. We have to learn to share. We have to let go of the judgment. And so basically our matrix program is anywhere that we feel like we're in a prison, where we feel like we're being suppressed, where we feel like when you have to choose between you and something else. In the old matrix programming, we used to choose everything else. And so this is about reversing that and basically coming to choose ourselves and realize that we're that important and that we don't have to choose the old ways anymore unless we let fear dictate our reality. Now, when we open our heart, our reality changes. When we open our heart, our vibration changes. And then we get into quantum existence, which is where when our vibration changes, our dimension changes. When our dimension changes, the physical actually is different. So then it's realizing that if we will open our heart, then our mind, our mind used to run the show. And now it's about not letting your head run the show, not letting your ego run the show, not letting all those emotions run the show, not letting the stories, the victim mentalities run the show anymore. And basically, we move into a place of observation. And like I told you, there has to be two of us inside. If there's only one, it's either we're being really human or we're fully expanded as our higher self, our whole universe, and our little human is so small it's not really visible. But there will always be at least two of us, and then when you move into multidimensionality and all your other aspects, then there's a gazillion of us, and that's where it gets a bit weird and bizarre, because then we're clearing the distortions of each one of those aspects so that we can embody that aspect within ourselves. Matrix programming. The crystalline matrix grid is built upon unity and love and respect, but not of out there, ourself. And then that radiates out. Then that creates our reality so that that's what we're experiencing. But if we cannot hold that ourself, we can't experience it out there either. So this is about us holding that ourselves, holding that place of, no, it's not okay if somebody's going to come from a place that isn't respectful and isn't love. No, it's not okay, because we're in strong Syrian energies, which is a no BS. It's a no tolerance, but it's from a place of love. It's not against others. It's for unity. It's for the bigger picture. It's for why we're here on this earth to start with. Instead of us being against each other, we come together. And the cool part is that when we function from a place of unity consciousness, then we all come together when things get tough. Now, when we go human, which I call it human, other people call it ego, but when we go human and start to play those human realities out again, we're back against each other. Whereas when a dualistic reality that comes from a place of fear or judgment or any of these other blame, shame, guilt, all of these other energies that are old earth energies, when they start to play out, we're so in tune with everything that we're aware, oh, wait a minute, that's not in alignment. Oh, wait a minute, that's an old energy. Oh, wait a minute. And we basically just stop everything and call it out right then. When things start going sideways for the human, they pull apart. Whereas what appears to occur when a timeline starts to converge, then realities will start to collapse because the structures of those realities have collapsed and a new reality needs to come forth. But as a human, we don't understand that. We keep trying to hang on to the old, keep the old going, still caught up in all that old energy. We're living in fear. We're trying to hold on, and we don't understand that, especially in these vibrational frequencies now, that new realities are constantly pushing themselves in. They're constantly trying to come forth and converge in this space for us, and they can't if we're still holding on. And so the moment we realize that new realities are always available, and we start changing our words to understand that parallel realities, alternate realities, it's basically a reality of opportunity, possibilities, and instead of insisting that our realities are a certain way, we let go of the insistence of everything, And we open up to expect the unexpected, to expect anything. And we actually start calling it forth. Okay, I'm ready for this, I'm ready for that. But as a human, we don't do that because we don't like change. As a human, our realities are very fixed. And if it's not tangible and we can't touch it and we don't have something to prove it, then we don't believe it. And we'll sit around and debate realities all day long, not realizing that realities are subjective. Realities are our projection of our own consciousness. And if we want a different reality, we have to shift our consciousness. If we want a different reality, we have to expand beyond that physical whatever is going down, that physical everything, and expand our consciousness so that we can look at it from a different perspective, and another different perspective, and another different perspective. Because the more we expand, the more perspectives we can see, the more dimensions we have access to, which basically collapse the limits of the reality being fixed at all anymore, which is kind of cool. Everybody on Earth is being moved from a linear reality that's fixed to a vibrational reality that shifts in every moment, changes in every moment, different in every moment. And the ability to move vibrationally means that we have to be completely in tune. And we have to be constantly aware of ourselves and what we're allowing, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, so that we can actually shift that ourselves. And when we shift it, then the physical will automatically align for us, which is kind of cool. It's really fast right now. It doesn't take as long as it used to. But to also realize that if our reality is changing, to be okay with that. If our reality is changing, it's for us. And on a soul level, it's something we've been waiting for a really long time. We have to realize our fixed mentalities and mindsets used to hold realities in place. And now, on a soul level, our connection dictates realities here. And if we don't have that connection, then basically on a human level we're trying to control, whereas our control comes through our connection. Because we don't need to know anything anymore. You know inside, through the way that you feel, that everything's okay. That it's not only okay, that it's better than okay, but your human might not know what it is before it happens. And we start to let go of the need to know things, and you start trusting this right here. And we also function in a completely, as a human, we surrender our human to our higher self. And so we become our higher self and we observe our human. And we observe the programs and we watch the outside world. And the cool part is in the beginning, it gets very bizarre and weird. But you start looking for the metaphors and things. You start paying attention to the synchronicities. You start paying attention to numbers and all these, the signs. In the beginning for me, my universe was like, pay attention to the sign, every sign. And so I was looking at everything because everything was a message. And I had to learn how to decode my own matrix and understand my messages that I programmed for me. And so I was constantly looking up what the different numbers meant, what the spiritual meaning of this, the spiritual meaning of that, until I started understanding everything was a marker for a reality. And it represented a different dimension and a different reality. And that if I would actually start to understand the markers and pay attention, I could actually understand how realities correlated. And I could actually understand what was going to happen before it happened. Because everything that I saw was a message for me. And so everything in my reality, inside and outside, became a sign. And it was a message. And once you start to pay attention to everything and understand the messages, then you start getting access to the other dimensions where you get to see things long before they occur. But in the beginning, we're not present. and we don't have that capability. So this is about full presence and fully paying attention and really being in tune with everything as it occurs. Our human is off in every other time. Our human is off in doing other things. And this is about bringing it all back in and being so present within the moment, right here, that nothing occurs that we're not aware of. It's also processing a lot of information. It's processing because the crystals in our body are like a computer processor, and it processes data for us. I know I just jumped topics. I just went boom. Is that okay? Christed consciousness, crystalline consciousness, the grid work of New Earth. Our bodies, as our DNA evolves, activates Christed consciousness in the crystals, the crystalline structure inside our physical body form. So that on a continual basis, as higher light activates, then the crystals in our body actually take that information and process it for us, and all this information is available to us. So every person that comes around, our entire body and field is so in tune that we're aware of everything as it occurs all around us. If somebody's vibration changes, we feel it. If somebody's heart closes, we feel it. If somebody goes into resistance, their energy will start transmitting, and we feel that. And the difference is the human aspect of us will not be consciously aware and will be caught up in other things, and it will have a reaction instead of functioning within the moment with what's going on right then. Matrix programming. Once we realize the program for every reality is held within our cellular body. And now I'm going to go all into a different direction. The cellular structure dictates the physical structure out there. So that when we shift our vibration to a higher vibration, our cellular structure reshapes itself. And when our cells restructure themselves, our physical reality does the same thing. But for our human, we don't hold that vibration. We don't hold that long enough for our physical reality to align in response as the entire universe, as our higher self aspect. We hold that vibration and that new belief and that new reality within us, and we don't waver. And we hold it until the physical reality aligns. Or we look outside and say, this isn't in alignment, and we start aligning it ourselves, which is a whole different part of the process. It is realizing New Earth is built, the foundations for New Earth are built upon unity, consciousness, love. Built upon openness, sharing, respect, integrity above all, and holding that in every exchange and not wavering and not compromising anymore. It's also a ridiculous amount of sleep so that the veils of amnesia can dissolve. It's also a ridiculous amount of sleep so that our body can integrate the light, higher light consciousness of our soul into our physical body form. It's a lot of relaxing. It's a lot of slowing down and pulling away from everything. When things get crazy, we have to pull away. Slow everything down. Let it all go. Bring everything back to 0 point. Bring everything back to center. Bring everything back to that place of peace inside, and let everything outside either fall away or slow down. Because when we go unconscious, we're operating at a lower frequency bandwidth, and our field spin changes, and it creates chaos, and for the outside reality to actually shift vibrationally. So it takes being totally conscious and present and aware to slow everything down again, so that it can realign for us on a higher dimensional plane. I guess that's the easiest way for me to explain it. Matrix programming means basically each one of us looking at our realities and deciding what doesn't support our highest existence here. What doesn't support from a place of unity and love and respect for all of us and the bigger picture of why we're even here. And for each one of us to then basically, I call it about face, and focus your energy in the opposite direction. Refocus your energy constantly on what's really important. Refocus your energy on what you're creating. Because if you're unconscious, you're creating a reality. And if you're fully conscious, you're creating a reality. And if you're half and half, you're half consciously creating and half unconsciously creating. Well, when you're fully conscious of everything, there's no reality that gets created that you didn't create yourself. Which means that every reality comes forth is going to be awesome, because that's the only thing that you're allowing in your world. That's the only thing that you're transmitting out is your highest vibration. And when you no longer compromise, then your physical reality will stop doing that too. So it's really important just to understand, if we make our decisions based on a fear, then that's the physical reality we are going to stay in until all that fear comes up and that reality collapses, so that we can shift out of that place, because the fear actually keeps the reality intact. The fear is a program, and it's held in our cellular body. So if we will just embrace the fear and clear the fear from our body and honor the fear, get your body, lay it on the earth, go hug a tree, doesn't matter what you do. There are ways to honor the cellular release of fear. And it's going to be really uncomfortable at first, because there's going to be a lot of it. There's a lot of breathing through it. There's a lot of tears. There's a lot of anger that comes up, and understanding that all that energy's got to come out, and so that your body's vibration can shift you out of that reality. And sometimes you wait a few days. Sometimes you go to sleep. Sometimes you don't do anything at all. Whereas our human wants to get all up in everything, we actually will pull away and not do anything until all the energy is cleared. And then, but this is about your connected state. Because in a fully connected state, your reality is going to be very different than in a disconnected one. When you're in a disconnected state, you're going to feel alone. You're going to feel completely disempowered. There's going to be a lot of anger and resentment and blame and shame and guilt and judgment and all of those energies going on. Whereas if you will stop every person and just completely go inside and reconnect, there will be times you won't be able to, because you're clearing something, and that's got to go before you can. But if you're conscious of and realize, well, I'm just in a process of clearing some energy, and right now I can't feel that. The moment all that clears, you'll reconnect back up again. And use nature, and use the things, and surround yourself with everything that supports. In the old days, we wouldn't surround ourselves, we would make excuses. I don't have time, it's an inconvenience. And as long as we make those, as long as we allow those to dictate, then time is a separation within ourselves. So the moment we say we don't have time, then we actually collapse time where we don't have time. So the moment we say, you know what, I'm going to make the time, and we actually pull away and slow down, you actually will have more time. It's the opposite of what we thought. And so for us, we realize, I'm going to make the time. It's got to be that important to each one of us, because what will happen, and I lived near a lake, and my universe would tell me, get up every day and go walk the lake. Well, I would complain, and I didn't want to go walk, and it's like, get up and go walk. I would get out to the lake, and it would be the most amazing experience, and everything would fall away. And I called them my clarity walks, because that's when I would talk to my universe. Okay, universe. And I would completely open up, and I would be mesmerized with the birds and the sky. And that's when I started experiencing New Earth, was when I would go get lost in nature and let completely go and connect to my universe completely and let it all go. And then I started realizing that nature was not a luxury, it was a necessity. And that I needed to be in nature more and more and more and more. And even moving here, I had to be surrounded with nature in order to function. And here, because when I went into full service and I was working a ridiculous amount of hours, I was still surrounded with birds and nature, and that's your inspiration. And it's very easy to function when you're surrounded with beauty and you're surrounded. But it had to be that important to me. But in the beginning, I made every excuse known to man. And actually, I made so many excuses that my universe said, fine, we're going to move you. And I had to move. And I ended up on the same lake that my universe told me for 2 years to go walk. And I had every excuse known to man. And I ended up moving to the lake. And I was right there, and I didn't have an excuse anymore. The Matrix program isn't visible when you're in it. You can just feel the way it makes you feel. It's only visible when you pull out of it and you sit and observe and you realize and you look at your life and you look at the things that are going on and you realize this doesn't make you happy. This supports a fear-based aspect of yourself, which is basically your lower dimension of your human ego, whatever words we want to use. It's your unconscious you. We can collapse that entire matrix program, and holographically, it's a structure. Holographically, it's an intricate structure that changes constantly. The moment we shift our vibration, the structure of reality changes. The moment we shift and we open up and we say, no more, no more. I'm not feeding my energy into that anymore. I'm not going to come from a place of fear anymore. And then you basically open up and ask your higher self, what do I do? And you start listening. In the beginning, it's going to test everything you got because you don't trust yet. In the beginning, it's going to have you do things that don't make sense, because our realities vibrational don't make logical sense. They go against everything that as a human we created. So it's in the beginning, it's beyond challenging, because we're having to restructure our realities built upon a place of unity and love and respect and integrity and all of these things that we completely lacked when we disconnected and fell beneath, if you will, fell beneath or entered or birthed or incarnated, whatever words we want to use, walked in, to a human physical reality here. We don't get access to that until our heart opens. We don't get access to that until we stop with the stories. We don't get access to that until we stop blaming everything. We don't get access to that as long as we're looking out there and pointing the finger at that out there instead of going inside and realizing that we're the ones that dictate realities from inside, but we have to connect back up again. And it's a connecting through us and out, a connecting up. And you use everything and you surround yourself with everything of the highest vibration possible, because everything you allow in your field of consciousness attributes to your physical reality here. And so you actually have to choose what you're going to allow and what you're not. You also have to look at everything in your reality and have gratitude for everything that you have, not in your head, but with your whole being. You have to see the gift of everything that you have, and then you have to learn to utilize that. Because then we start transitioning from one matrix to the other. And if you can The cool part is if you will align on a soul level with your higher self aspect, your universe, whatever words you want to use, and start asking, what do I do? You'll get an answer. And you get up and you start doing those things. And sometimes you stop doing. Sometimes you stop doing anything and you pull away and you stop trying to control it all and you stop trying to make it all happen. Because where we were very strong masculine, then moving into the divine feminine, and the feminine energy means to learn how to be. And that's the hardest thing for us in the beginning when we've been doers, is to stop doing. And basically that about kills us in the beginning, because we don't know how to be. And it drives us crazy. But once you learn how to be, you don't want to do anything anymore. Once you come to this being place, you're like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Wait a minute. I don't want to do any of that stuff anymore. So you completely flip-flop. Well, then once you learn how to be, then you learn how to do from the being place. And the things you do are fully aligned, and they're easy, and things are in flow. But at first, we didn't know how to be. We didn't know how to pull away. We didn't know how to be still. We didn't know how to listen to our mind. We didn't know how to do these things. When we pull completely away and just observe, you can go inside and connect. You can do it however you want to. For me, in the beginning, I would either go out in nature or go get in my bed. And I spent a lot of time in the beginning closing my eyes, and I would close my eyes and activate my pineal gland. And I learned how to close my eyes and open my pineal gland so that I had access to see. And I, for like 2 years solid, everything I did was with my eyes closed. People thought I was sleeping everywhere I went. I'm like, no, I'm not asleep. And I learned to hear vibrationally. I learned to see vibrationally. I would close my eyes to see. Because your pineal gland opens and you have vision that transcends anything your human eyes can see. It's really cool. And then you move into holographic existence, where you have access to all of the other dimensions holographically, and you can see energetically down parallels and through timelines. And in every moment, the vibration tells you basically what realities are available and what can happen if you stay in that timeline. And if the vibration changes, it changes the entire timeline. And so you start learning, well, I can change the vibration myself. And if I can change the vibration myself, I can change the timeline myself. And the coolest part was I started realizing, one, I could use my sleep state to collapse realities. I could use my sleep state to clear timelines. I could use my sleep state for everything. And I started using my sleep state, and then once I started using my sleep state, I started realizing I could do it in my waking one all the time too. And then I started intentionally doing it in my waking state. And I didn't have to go to sleep to do it anymore. And then there comes a point where you've done this, and your realities basically flip and merge, and you're walking around in a lucid dream for a while. It gets a little weird and bizarre. It's important to realize that the physical reality is the culmination point of all dimensions. It's the space where physical matter takes form in accordance to vibrational frequencies that have been transmitted. The physical reality to the human is the be-all, end-all. Whereas for us, it's the opposite. It's where matter took form based upon what we transmitted, based upon what we called forth, based upon what we said, hey, universe, bring this to me. Oh, cool. So when something comes forth, it's like, yeah, I've been waiting for that. You're not surprised a whole lot here. Because you knew it was coming. You've been waiting for it for a really long time. So it's the opposite reality. The physical is where everything takes form in response to us. And when you realize that, you become very responsible for everything you transmit, everything you think. Every action you take is going to create a reality for you. And if I'm going to use words here that are true but not true, because then you shift and it's not true anymore. If I allow myself to transmit an unconscious reality, then my human, me, in form is going to experience the consequences of that reality. Now, technically, they're not consequences. Technically, it's a vibrational response. But because we don't have that expanded awareness at the time, it's there to show us what to do and what not to do. Our human calls them lessons. We call them experiences that taught us something. We call them gifts. Every experience is to show us something about ourselves and how that reality came to be. What did we do that created that? And then you actually start looking at what you did that created that to occur. And then once you realize, well, I did that, and then you can actually follow the timeline until this moment and watch everything you did that created that moment right now. And then it no longer becomes about the past, it becomes a vibration, which is really cool. Because then realities become vibrational and you realize, well, if I don't want that to keep occurring, then I need to stop doing that. And then it's paying attention to what you're transmitting, what you're speaking, what you're saying. Then when we start realizing everybody's going to be telepathic, we have to watch our thoughts. Because then we're like, oh, wait a minute, other people will hear what I hear, the things I'm thinking, which is true too. But it's through an electromagnetic field. It's through the unified field of consciousness. Because when we are unified inside, then we're able to hear, see, feel, and read the entire field of consciousness just by being in it. Which is, we have all these amazing gifts and abilities that come forth as we become fully conscious here. And they're not, in the beginning for us as humans, they're miracles, they're magic, they're all of these amazing things. But after a while, we start to realize everybody has these gifts. Everybody has these capabilities. The only difference is how in tune each one of us are with that, and then whether we're letting our ego run the show or whether we're coming from a really pure place. If we're coming from a really pure place, it's a natural ability and it's no big deal. But in the beginning, it is a big deal because we're accessing the gifts that we lost when we went unconscious. We lost the capability to have. And that's when the memories and the realizations and Lemuria and Atlantis and all of these, the Atlantean pyramids, the other galaxies, the other planets, and all of our existences stop being the past and the future. They start being simultaneous realities that are available right now. And you get to, when you come into contact with somebody, then you can identify the energies that are present so you can see the purpose of the exchange. You can see the benefit of why you've come together. Because for us, every reality has a purpose. And if it doesn't have a purpose, it doesn't have a point. Well, if it doesn't have a point, there's no reason for it. And so we actually get done with realities really quick too. Because we don't feed the old energies of lack or feed our energy into them anymore. For all of us, if everybody realized that at all times they are in multiple dimensions, that at all times every person is playing out their own reality according to their own matrix program, and they're moving multidimensionally in their own universe, in their own field of consciousness or unconsciousness or whatever the case may be, when we realize that we're all a bunch of little bodies walking around in our own universes, and we come into contact with each other, and every time our fields connect, then all these new geometrics and equations actually enhance each other's fields, activate knowledge and all of these things in each other's fields, and that if each one of us are fully present and we're shifting our vibration ourselves, then it can be the most beautiful exchanges. We also start to realize that we do not love unconscious realities and that they don't have a point anymore, other than to expose or open things up or bring everybody back into that vibration again. Then you actually start picking and choosing your realities, because if you do, then your realities tend to become more magical and amazing all the time. A lot easier. They're all in flow. And the biggest thing is to realize that each one of us, when you start to stand in your power again, from that connected place, then realities are a response to you, and that they're for you, instead of happening unconsciously like before. So, I don't know if I answered the question about the Matrix program. I know that there's a ton of Matrix programs, and I know that there's a lot of questions from people about how to exit the Matrix. The first thing is to realize that you're even in a Matrix. To realize that that doesn't support your highest existence, that that isn't pure, that that doesn't come from a place of love and unity, and to basically go inside of each one of us and to connect and then start making different decisions based upon what our own higher self universe tells us to do, if you will, because after a while even that will collapse and you'll be the whole universe again. You won't have a higher self anymore, and you'll merge all these aspects, but until that time we have to have a higher self. And so it's about opening up 24 hours a day and asking, what do I do? Universe, what do I do? What do I do? And being prepared that the answer isn't always going to be what you thought it was going to be, and you're probably not going to like it for a while. Because your universe doesn't care, not really, it does care, whether your human likes it. Your human's never going to like change. It's never going to like letting the old stuff go. It's never going to like discomfort. It's never going to like these things because it doesn't fit into our human's reality of the way things are supposed to be. Our highest alignment, our highest timelines will never align with our human reality until we merge all aspects inside of us and we don't separate off anymore. And then basically all realities are aligned, because we don't go human and go unconscious anymore. We do have moments where our humanness and some programs occur and basically work through those energies and get them out of our body, and then we clear and we unify again and we come back to peace and everything's beautiful and awesome, and we let it all go. We don't even care. The only time we really ever have to do anything is from this moment. We let all previous moments go, and from this moment, anything that occurs, we start dealing with that right then. No longer acceptable. This isn't from love. This isn't a place of respect. This isn't integrity. And for a while, none of us held inner power, so we're going to call forth every reality that tests our inner power. In the beginning, none of us had full integrity on a soul level, and they're very different here, so we're going to call forth every reality that lacks integrity. And so everything that we lack inside is going to play out in our world until we don't lack in that way anymore and we don't compromise anymore. Physical world abundance is a big thing for a lot of people, because they don't understand how abundance comes to be energetically. Because the focus is on physical world things to be abundant, whereas it's the feeling of abundance. It is connecting with everything that you have around you. It doesn't matter what it is. In the beginning, for me, I had to be so grateful that I had a place to live and a roof over my head and food in my stomach. I was fully abundant. If I had $1, I was abundant. And once I got to that place to really appreciate everything that I had, not with my head, but with my whole body, 24 hours a day, I couldn't step out of gratitude anymore. I couldn't step out of appreciation, because what happens is our human doesn't have gratitude or appreciate, so it wastes everything. Once I had that connection and I realized that just being in nature, I was fully abundant. I had everything I needed. I didn't lack for anything at all. I had to maintain that and hold that all the time from that point forward. And if I shifted out of that, then I had to check and see what was going on. And usually, it's funny because before I broke all of the abundance karma that I was carrying, every time I thought of money, I separated off and I went to fear. Every time I thought of certain things that had to do with abundance, I would separate off. And I'd go to not enough. And the moment I felt that separation occur inside of me, oh my God, I have a program going on. I forgot. I went unconscious. And I had to bring myself back to present moment, and I had to touch and say, I'm not lacking in any way. I have everything that I need. And then what you start to do is to realize that if you have everything you need in the moment, then you're not lacking for anything at all. And you get up and you start. We don't wait until we're doing without and have nothing, which is what our human used to do. That's what would kick us in gear, is the fear of not having, or the fear. And we actually needed the fear for a long time. But then what we start realizing is that that was our pattern. That was our program. And we don't need that anymore. And we basically utilize everything that we have, every resource, every opportunity. My universe told me I couldn't turn money away anymore. I used to feel bad if somebody went to pay me for whatever I was doing, $20. Oh, no, it's okay. You keep it. Now, inside I was going, I really need that $20. But I had an issue with accepting. I felt bad if somebody tried to give me money for my gifts. It's the old light worker mentality that we have to break and let completely all of that go. And my universe basically one day said, you're not allowed to turn anything away anymore. The more uncomfortable you are, the more you have to take it. And it was hard. Somebody'd hand me $20 or offer to take me to dinner, and I wasn't allowed to say no, and I had to sit there in that uncomfortable energy, and I had to be thankful and have gratitude, and I had to learn to accept and receive. I couldn't receive anything because I constantly, out of uncomfort, would push it away. And then once I broke that energy, then I remember the first time I had an extra $20. I hadn't had a dime to my name for I don't know how long. Now, I went from having tons of everything to nothing, to teach me everything. But I remember after, not having extra for a really long time, the first $20 I got, I'm like, oh my God, I have $20. This is so awesome. $20. What am I going to do with my $20? And I remember one of my friends, clients, students, whatever you want to call at the time, came over. And she's like, will you go to the store with me to do something? I'm like, sure. So I rode with her, and we got up there, and we went into a clothing store. And I hadn't been in a clothing store. I'd been shopping at Goodwill for years. And I looked at all these clothes, and I went, oh my God, I could buy a new shirt. And so I had my $20, and I walked in the store, and I looked at all the clothes, and I'm like, but I don't need anything. I don't need to spend the money. I had the money, but all of a sudden I had a new appreciation for money. I didn't need to go buy something. I was happy inside. And that was the first time I realized that I wasn't lacking in any way, that I would always have that. And when my universe had me spend the day with homeless and then give all my money away. Because every time I got to the place of not appreciating or forgetting that I had everything I needed, my universe would have me go out and spend the day with somebody who had less. And then all of a sudden, it was give your money to them. And our human would go, but wait a minute, it's the last money I got. And I was taught, it's not your last money. It's the last money you have right now. Let it go. And so that's when I learned to start being generous with anything that I had, that I would get more. And that's when I started living my life by being generous. And the more that I shared, the more I got. And that's what actually happened with the knowledge too, is that what we don't understand is that all of the knowledge we have access to higher consciousness-wise each one of us are here to share that information and that knowledge. It's built, it's a key code that's built into unity consciousness. And the abundance factor too is because the more we share, the more we receive. And if we don't open up to share, we don't get anything. So everybody that's holding back and playing in the game of it's mine or I can't share and play, it's like when I first realized that we were, as humans, we were we were like a bunch of little kids that were selfish, running around, that's mine, I can't share. I was amazed because I had been living from a place of unity consciousness within myself to learn to share everything and support everybody around me. That the first time I was exposed to others that didn't live from that place, I was shocked. But I needed to have that experience to see that so you have to be able to see the dynamic in order to understand. And I had to see the dynamic, and I had to see the difference between those who held that and those who didn't before I could understand. So I started learning. In the beginning, my universe was, you have everything you need. Use what you have to make a difference and help other people. Pay it forward. Start sharing what you have. And I started learning that if I would take everything that came in and share it, that I'd get more. And I learned, but it wasn't a giving, and it wasn't a fixing, and it wasn't to fix all the lacks of the world, which is very different energy. I wasn't trying to fix the lacks, and I wasn't coming from a place of lack inside myself. I was coming from a place of love for that being. And I was coming from a place of sharing it with them and giving it to them, knowing that my universe was going to provide for me. And it completely broke all the lack energy that I had. There were times that my universe said, take everything you've got and give it away. Because I had to learn that I wasn't going to do without. But I also had to learn to follow directions and instructions, because your higher self is your guide. Your higher self is you in another dimension, in a reality that's already occurred. Well, until you gain access to all those dimensions and the realities and you're able to see them before they occur, then you have to listen to your higher self trying to guide you into that vibrational reality. But as a human, we're going, oh, but no, I don't trust. Oh, but that's too crazy. Oh, I don't want to listen. I want to do it my way. And that's what creates realities from a place of lack.
Thank you for watching this quantum conversation with Lisa Transcendence Brown. I'm Galey, and I invite you to check out Lisa's special offer of her teachings, New Earth Existence and Quantum Activations. Thank you for joining us. Namaste.